Welcome back to Leon's Homegrown. Today we're going to get back into the fruit trees that are planted in the swale. So as you know from the last video, we done the swales with the good old tractor and moved some soil over here so the swales are basically on top of the ground level. And then we planted some trees down and we put some horse manure in there. So did let the horse manure sit on there for about a week and let it sort of dry out a little bit, and now I'm going to add a few more amendments and then I'm going to put some mulch over the top. Alright, so let's get into it. So just an overview of the way the swales are looking at the moment, with the soil above the ground level, and as you can see it's dried out from the Queensland weather we get here. Trees still going good as you saw from last time. What I am going to do is add some amendments to it. So what I'm going to do is, away from the actual base of the tree, is the horse manure is away from that. So what I am going to do is add some of these. I've got the whole bag down this time just so you can see what it is that I'm growing. So it's called a organic super growth, and it is made locally close to where I am, not too far up the road, and it's got all sorts of good stuff in it. So it's got you can see here, it contains biological active compost, poultry manure, blood and bone, zeolite, rock phosphate, natural gypsum, phosphate of potash, worm castings, rock minerals, fish meal and seaweed extract. Now I don't normally get too much of that sort of stuff in one bag, so it's made close to where we are. That's the brand name just there. Not sure if it's Australia wide or just in Queensland, but it's also got your NPK value there, which, you know, it's very important that you don't just rely on them NPK values. As you can see, they're pretty low. But it's organic fertilizer. I'm also going to be putting some blood and bone, which is just your standard blood and bone, and also I'm going to be putting some rock minerals as well in there as well. Not too much, just a little bit. So that's basically the three things I'm going to be adding around the base of the trees. Sort of, if you had a bigger tree, obviously it'd have a bigger root span, but this particular tree's obviously just come out of a pot, as you'll see from the last video or two ago, so its root span isn't really that big anyway. So that's why this is here. And what I'm also going to do is I'm going to be sprinkling some of these marigold seeds, which I've got here from, you can't see too much anyway, they're still in the form. I put them in a bag probably about a year ago, and they're like a really big marigold seed. So they come out of the food forest, or the fruit tree swales that I had over in the distance over there. And as you all know from previous videos, so they were growing really well, and I'm pretty sure they're an African variety and they grow quite large. So I'm going to be sprinkling some of them seeds down here as well. So what I'm going to start with is I'm going to get the water, which I've got here already, and while I'm preparing that, I am just going to get this water, if it's got pretty high pressure here, so I'll just put that there. I'm just going to put the water into that swale, because it hasn't had any water in this swale because it's a new swale. So it's going to do two things. One thing it's going to do is hydrate that swale as I normally rely on rainfall. It's also going to let me know if the swale's going the way it needs to be and filling up, and also I'm going away, so it's gonna help these plants while I'm gone in case we don't get any rainfall. Alrighty, so I'll get into start planting some of this stuff out. Well, start putting these amendments, should I say. I'll see if I can do it one-handed here for a little while. I'm just going to use my hands and start with the blood and bone. And I'm just going to sprinkle that around, not too close to the actual main stem, and just around like that. I'll just do one plant with his all so you know what I'm doing. I'm going to grab a handful of these rock minerals, just a small handful, and I'm going to be placing them around as well. I'm not digging it in. As you can see, this swale is going that way. You can see the water already, it's high pressure water, so as you can see it is going that way, which is where I want to divert the water into, which is good. But I probably need to get it up a little bit more on this side here so it comes up here as well. But that's not a job for today, maybe when I get back from a trip to Victoria. So we'll get some of this slow release fertilizer. Now this stuff here could probably be a little bit more generous with, and it's going to go around there, and I'll probably end up just sprinkling a little bit into the actual bed. I will get probably some container to hold this. I'm not just doing it like this, it's mainly for demonstration purposes. Just sprinkling like that, and then with the marigold seeds, open it up. And they're definitely dry, they've been here for quite a while. As you can see, I haven't separated them. Just dropped some anyway. Haven't separated them or anything, and I'm not really too fussed about that. These are my own seeds, they're not cost me much. I'm just going to be sprinkling these around. If I get too many marigold seeds growing in this particular areas, then I will just be probably just transplant them to a different area. Alrighty, so that's basically what I'm going to do. So let me do that, and as you can see the swale comes up to probably 8/10 before it hits the end over here and starts going over. So what I will need to do is, when I fine tune it, is to get this going up higher there so it can fill that particular thing up with water, that particular swale up with water. Anyway, I'm going to switch this hose off at the moment because I've got enough water in there. As you can see, it didn't take too long to fill that up, and it is flowing way too fast, so it will definitely need to be adjusted. But the best time to do that is when it's raining anyway. Alrighty, I'll continue on. So again, we'll start with the blood and bone. A little bit there. Now you have to remember that also when you're using blood and bone, it's very high in nitrogen. And the nitrogen's going to be really helping leaf growth. So if you've got a fruiting plant, you don't really want really high nitrogen. You'd want more nitrogen sort of when you want it to grow leaf, not fruit. As you can see, it doesn't take a lot of time to add these amendments, and in the slow release I'll just be putting sort of everywhere. I've got a little bit of this in the hole, not much, and not sort of mixed with the soil that's in the hole before the plant went down. Okay, so pretty much that's all the amendments I'm going to be doing with that. And what I am going to be doing is watering it down because it's pretty dry soil. And then once I get the mulch on the top, it's going to need quite a bit of water to get through the mulch before it gets to the ground. So I'll be watering it in with my trusty high pressured hose here, and wash my hands there. I can regulate the pressure on this, and I'll just be watering some of them nutrients into the ground. A bit more pressure there, get done a bit quicker. Now I've got a high pressured pump on this tank water, and that's mainly so I can water things quickly if I need to. Most of the time it's actually used with the rain. So the rainfall is normally what most of the garden gets. And that works pretty good in my climate, even though it never used to. That's because I've got these swales or mini swales, and it's sinking the water into the ground. It is quite warm, even though it's like a couple of days into spring. Here in southeast Queensland, today's like nearly 30 degrees. So it's yeah, definitely warm. Not too worried about what's going in there. One thing I did forget is to throw them marigold seeds around in a few more spots. Mainly concentrating on where the plant is at the moment, and they're sort of sunk in a little bit. I'll get them marigold seeds while I remember. Because the flowering is really good. I like to attract the pollinators as much as possible. So that's why I've got these flower gardens everywhere. These marigold seeds, well, they didn't cost me anything, so I'm just basically putting back into the landscape what I did once pay and grow. I'm not expecting them all to come up. If they did, great. But I'm not really expecting them all to come up. And at this early stage of the fruit trees, they're not going to be sucking any nutrients off anything. Plus all the stuff I added anyway. There's plenty enough to go around. And if it's too thick, well, I'll just go and thin it out and I'll have free plants. All this stuff in the bottom. It would have been better if I broke them up before we'd done this video, but anyway. I'll quickly throw them in. I might be out of the frame at the moment, but I'm just doing this bit at the back. Okay, so plenty of marigold seeds, still plenty left. As I said, I'm pretty sure they're the African variety. Pretty sure. You do want to get ones that grow, I think like 60 centimetres, not the ones that grow like 30 centimetres. Well, you can, depends on your space and that. So they're going to make good contact in the soil, them seeds, with the water I'm putting on after. And as I said, I've just planted probably thousands of seeds there. If hundreds come up, great, probably more than I need anyway. And as I said, the pollinators are really important with the vegetable garden I've got over there. We'll probably go for a bit of a walk, have a little bit of a look at that. But yeah, because I've just done this particular bed about a week ago, I did have plans to have it all done already, but when I had the horse manure, which was in bags and it was fresh stuff, and it was brewing for a couple of months in a bag, and I thought it might have composted down enough, but when I looked at it, I was a little bit worried it wasn't quite composted enough, so I left it out in the sun on top of the beds to just sort of to break down a little bit more. Not so much break down, but just dry out a little bit so it's not too rich. So yeah, this hose works really good for high pressure, or higher pressure should I say. And I don't water much. mainly it's the rainfall, but I'm going away to Victoria for 2 or 3 weeks and I don't know if it's going to rain or not. And the rest of the garden I'm pretty confident with the rainfall I've sunk into the ground, that everything will be fine, which I probably will give it a bit of a water anyway. But this one I'm not so confident because it hasn't had any decent rainfall to actually sink into the ground and penetrate the ground. Anyway, that will probably do it for this. So we'll grab this camera and we'll go around and show you what I'm going to use. As you can see, it's all had a good water. As you can see how the swale is going to work when it does get rainfall down here. And it just sits there and then just penetrates into the ground. As you know from my last videos, if you haven't seen them, well, you need to go and see some. Don't forget to subscribe as well if you haven't already subscribed, because channel's still small. What I'm doing is a little bit more unique than what a lot of people are doing, especially with my water harvesting and saving of the actual water. And I still haven't picked this cauliflower, which I need to come and pick it. Anyway, this is the mulch I'm going to be using. So this is the sugarcane mulch. So I know it's got no seed in it, and it's pretty good. And if you buy it in bulk like this, it does save you a bit of money. I'm going to probably just leave it here and see how much I can move around to get to that spot, and that one over there needs to be done. So it's probably not really interesting watching me unwrap this bale. Let's see if we can do it quickly. They really wrap it. Probably making you dizzy. Alrighty. So that's it there. I've left it here for a couple of months, which doesn't bother me. We'll be making sure there's no plastic left in there. And yeah, some come. And that's basically what it is, composting. It's dry, and that's why I'm adding the water now. This sugarcane would be good. I did use the loosened mulch in here. Remember, I had that bale left, and I still have, but it grew a lot of seeds. So my normal hay guy, who I know hasn't got any seeds, he's been, well, he's not answering me messages at the moment, so maybe he hasn't got any at the moment. And they're normally in square bales. And most of the garden was done with that, and I did not have a weed problem. I'm just going to go over here and see if there's one left from the old one. There it is there. I did put some in that new garden bed. As you can see, that's just broken down here in the swale. Just took it out, and yeah, beautiful. And it doesn't grow weeds. That's weed from something else. Alrighty, so that's what I normally use. That we're using sugarcane at the moment. Now we'll come up here quickly and have a look at these garden beds. So they need a bit of a water as well. We've got some zucchini growing there, and they've been recently planted, so we'll be putting some in. As you can see, it doesn't take long for the beans to not like the heat. Peas, sorry, I keep saying beans. Strawberries everywhere. Still need to come down here and pick some. And yeah, there's all the stuff we planted last time with the pumpkins and cucumbers, and I've got some zucchinis in the middle and some herbs. So there's not much going on with this particular garden, but that's a new garden. Garlic, I'll give that a bit of a water. Before I go away, I'm gonna probably give all these a bit of a water to all the beds. And yeah, as you've seen from the last video a few days ago, how everything else is going. Tomatoes are starting to form, which is good. And we've been picking tomatoes all year round. It's the one I showed you a couple of days ago. It didn't take long to go from a head to start to go to seed, so I have to pick that. And alrighty, so I'll end up go and finish putting some of this mulch back on these beds. And I might use the four-wheeler of the trailer to grab some, so I'm not running backwards and forwards too much. And we'll come back when it's all done. Okay, so we'll start on this end here. We'll be pretty generous with it. And make sure it's not too close to the actual tree trunk. And this thicker stuff will just give a bit of a shake. It's not thicker, it's just a bit harder for being on the outside. Now it does get a bit dusty, so if you've got a problem with dust, probably better off just wearing a mask or something. With any mulch, you don't want it to be on too thick, being like a brick. So the bales aren't too bad, but when you buy the small bales, square bales, they can be quite thick. So the mulch, you really want the moisture to go through it. So if it's crisscross in different directions, not too solid, then it'll normally work pretty good. So it's going to be good for water retention, and it's also going to be good for keeping the weeds down. So as you can see, it doesn't take too much. Too much time anyway to do it. Little by little, way I see it. It might look pretty thick at the moment, but as it breaks down and gets wet with rain and stuff like that, it will fall down a bit itself. So the sugar cane's pretty good. It's not like the stuff you buy from the store where it's all sort of mashed really thinly and breaks down really quickly, which is most likely designed to break down quickly. So then you end up buying more. Just make sure it's not near the trunk too much. You can always go and add a little bit more anyway. That looks pretty good, I reckon. So I used hardly any of that bale, so step over it. Alright guys, so I'll continue doing that. It's starting to get a little bit dark, and yeah, finish this all off. And yeah, thanks heaps for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you. So as you can see from this one here, I've just put the amendments on, and the swale that I eyeballed is pretty close to perfect. This is where it comes up and goes around, feeds the rest of the swales over there. I'll probably obviously bypass that one, or we'll head down to the second last one. And yeah, it's holding the water pretty good. And if anything, I might just need to go a little bit deeper over here. I didn't want to go too deep when I built it because I didn't have a leveling device to make sure it was on contour. So yeah, so a little bit deeper in this corner here, just so the water goes all the way, and then it will fill up a little bit more and then overflow over that side. So I just thought I'd show you that, and just quickly show you this one over here, which I've finished off as well. Just have to get the rake and rake anything off the grass into that, and these trees will really benefit from that additional work you do at the start. Remember, it is low maintenance what I'm doing here. So once I do the infrastructure of the water harvesting, then it's minimal what I do. So put the work in now and benefit it in the long term, and it is working. So yeah, have a look at some of my other videos. You can see from when I first begun, and yeah, and I'm definitely going this time. So I will see you hopefully do a video when I'm in Victoria, show you what's growing down there and the climate difference. Okay, thanks heaps guys, we'll see you next time.